This is Tommy's Outdoors, episode 18. And today, our guests are two drone pilots, Chris and Shane from Munster Drone Services. And obviously, flying drones is not something that is immediately connected with the subject of the outdoors, right? Outdoors is hiking and hunting and fishing and great outdoors, but flying drones is not something that is immediately connected with that area or with that subject. But I think that flying drones is taking place mostly outdoors, and drone footage is helping us to appreciate the beauty of the outdoors. And very often it allows us to explore and see aspects of the outdoors and natural environment that we wouldn't be able to appreciate otherwise. So, in my book, flying drones and taking aerial photos is right up there in the outdoors. And so, I think it's a great opportunity to learn something about it, about drones, flying drones, and how to use them. And no better people to do that than guys who are professionally flying drones and providing services. So, Munster Drone Services, Chris and Shane. Hello, you guys. I'm today with two lads from Munster Drone Services. Is that right?
That's right, yeah.
Guys, maybe introduce yourself for our listeners and we get right into it.
Okay, my name is Shane. I'm the pilot in Munster Drone Services. We're fully approved by the Irish Aviation. We're based in North Cork, near Mallow, providing service throughout Munster for all drone sales, drone services, and also we're bringing on board a new training academy shortly.
All right, that's perfect. How about yourself?
My name's Chris Bristow. I'm the chief pilot and instructor.
Oh wow, a chief pilot and instructor. That's great. And listen, guys, it's a pleasure to have you here, and really kind of feel like I'm pushing the definition of the outdoors, because usually when you talk about outdoors, on one hand you have people who are talking about wellness and hiking, or it's hunting and fishing. Right, but for the purpose of Tommy's Outdoors podcast, it's very wide and there's a lot of different activities. And I am so happy to have you here, because drone flying and flying drones is not something that's considered traditional outdoor activity. But like in my book, this is straight right in the middle of outdoors activities, because that's something that's happening outdoors, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So. Listen, so you mentioned about qualifications, and you mentioned about fully approved by aviation authority. Could you explain to our listeners a little bit more about that? How does it work, and why there is even need for such thing, right? Because you may think like, well, it's just a toy. You get the toy, and it's pretty much like an RC car, and you're just driving around that thing. Why you need all these authorities and certification and so on? How does that work?
Yeah, well, it's mainly down to the airspace, because it's fine if you've got an RC car, you can drive around your neighborhood. You're not harming anyone unless you're annoying your neighbors. Whereas with the drone, you're up in the air, and that's where airplanes fly. So, there's been a lot of videos already on YouTube, people doing stupid things with them. So they're going up above the clouds, out, they're not keeping sight of the drone. And that's where the issue is, that's the airspace where planes fly. And obviously planes have, they have the right of way up there.
Well, yeah, if they're going to hit the drone, that can be fatal.
Definitely.
It'll be a problem.
So the regulations have been in since 2015 in Ireland. And it's basically it's all common sense. Don't fly around aerodomes, which is airports. There's really two sides to it. There's the public safety, which is flying around people, and then there's the airspace safety. So flying in the airspace.
Right, right. So it's not just a matter of you go ahead, buy a drone, and off you go. What you need to do if you wanna fly a drone, if you buy a drone, what you need to.
Well, there's nothing stopping someone just going into a shop, buying a drone, taking it and flying it.
Yeah.
There is at the moment there's a bit of a gap there
Okay.
in terms of like you can just go into somewhere like Harvey Norman or another place, buy the drone. They do give out a bit of a leaflet on information, but it's not really very comprehensive. And there's nothing stopping within the as long as you fly within the regulations that are set out.
So there is no requirement that you need to have a sort of driving license or like a license for a drone. So
not unless there is, if you're going to be buying a bigger drone, it's over 4 kg in weight, which is that's quite a big drone. So that's serious money, and you're only going to be buying something like that if you're going to be using for a business.
Right.
So
if you're buying your regular like a customer drone, it's
the likes of the Phantoms or any of the smaller DJI consumer drones or the Spark, the DJI Spark or the DJI Mavic.
They're obviously below 4 kilos.
Yeah.
Okay, so in other words, if I would go ahead and buy a drone and just fly that, nobody can kind of prosecute me or say like, well, you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
As long as you were. So where can anyone go and find that? What are exactly the regulations and how to find out what to do? And
like I said, normally when you buy a drone from a company, they'll give you a basic sheet on the basics. But if you actually want to find out the actual IAA, which is the Irish Aviation Authority regulations, you just go onto their website. And there's in one of the tabs, it's general, and then there's drones.
Yes.
And there's a couple of notices in there that you can read through, and it explains it quite a lot of detail.
Right. So in other words, but how do you know where you can't fly the drone? Because obviously there are areas that are excluded from air traffic and stuff like that. So is that the information that you can find on that website as well?
It is, or in a roundabout way, it is. If you're going to register your drone, that gives you access to the Assets website, which provides you with an ISO map of Ireland, which gives you very detailed of different areas to fly in. But if you're just, say, somebody wants to do it for a hobby and you're only buying a, say, Mavic, which doesn't need to be registered, you're not going to be registering that drone and you won't get access to that. So there are other, like the DJI drones themselves have a lot of safety features built in. So I'm part of that.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah, it has Google Maps built into the controller, whether you're using your phone or a tablet. Yeah. And that will show you different airspaces around, and it's color coded too.
Okay, so it kind of shows you like this is not a good idea to fly into that area.
Same as when you're about to take off. Once you arm the drone, it shows you or tells you a message saying you're in this class airspace. And if it's somewhere, so if you're literally on within, so it's color coded, so the yellow circles will be kind of just fly with caution, know your limits kind of thing. And the red ones is basically no-fly zones.
Okay, and the no-fly zones are usually related to air traffic. Is that right?
Yes, that's literally when you're right outside an airport. When their planes are taking off and landing.
Okay, but you mentioned that there are YouTube videos, and probably most of us saw those videos where people are flying above the clouds and so on. I think that not many people are aware of that, and maybe you guys can confirm that. Like the drones can actually reach the altitudes where commercial planes are flying. Is that right?
Yeah, some drones can actually go 5 or 6 or 7 kilometers away.
Right.
So there's nothing stopping anybody flying that. But under Irish aviation regulations, you're only supposed to go 300 meters, and 300 meters away. So
distance from you horizontally.
Okay.
And then you're only supposed to go up 120 meters from the ground, which is roughly 400 feet.
Okay,
which is more than enough. Like, I mean, the people who are up flying above the clouds, I don't know what they're doing up there. They're just thrill seekers, I think.
Yeah. I was like not really, because they're not there actually. They're just sending the.
I mean, there's nothing to see up there really, except the clouds, and they're risking their craft.
And so I know that the drones have also kind of built-in safety mechanisms that is not allowing them to fly above the certain altitude. So I think that last couple years ago, maybe it was, I was reading about the DJI I think Phantoms, and that they actually can fly much higher then they
Yes.
really will, because this is like a built-in that. But
Yeah.
is it like a built only based on common sense and not based on regulations? Because I believe they're flying much more than 300 yards.
Well, regulations vary from country to country.
Yeah.
So then most of the parameters have to be set by the pilot.
Right.
So you can go into DJI app or into the app on the drone, and you can set the height.
Yeah.
And it normally sets the height to your country.
Okay, so you can
Yeah.
so you can preset that.
Yeah,
or this
you
is-
can
I think with the DJI one, by default, it's set to limit the height to 120 meters.
Okay.
But if you want to, or if you need to fly higher, you can just disable that.
Okay.
Because there will be times, say, if you're at the bottom of a mountain and you're going to be flying up and over higher over the mountain.
Yes.
Your 120 meter limit is above ground level. So if you're
Is it above ground level, or is it above the sea level?
above ground level,
Above ground level.
Yes.
Ground level. Okay. That's
So you can
Yeah, that
fly
makes
up
sense.
120 meters from the top of the mountain.
yes.
It's from wherever you are.
Yes. So then, when to take off. Okay. So this is, and what about what you mentioned? This is aviation part of it, right? And obviously, I also heard the stories. Like, my friend works on the airport, and they have a lot of problems around when there's some event going, like a fire or whatever. Then journalists are coming with the drones.
Yes.
And then, they're asking for permission, but they're not really waiting for permission. And the drone goes out and flies and shoots the photos of the, factory that was on fire or whatever else. And then they have a big problem, because they're obviously there's air traffic coming. So I think we covered that piece. Now you mentioned as well that around people, is it only safety in case there's a crash with a drone, or is it also privacy concerns?
It's a bit of both, really. Most of the drones that are out there that most people would be buying, because the field of view of the camera is so wide, even if you're filming somebody from a distance, you're not capturing much. But yeah, there's a safety part of it. Obviously, you're not allowed to fly around big crowds of people.
Okay.
Again, and all these things are based. If you have a need to, if it's part of your job, you can apply for permission.
Okay.
To the IA. If you need to fly higher and you need to fly further, you can apply for permission to the IA to do such a thing, but you need to show them that you're going to do it safely.
Right. So AA is regulating that.
Yes.
So can someone get in trouble flying drone over? So for example, there is St. Patrick's Day or whatever else, right? And then you have a dude who's flying drone over that and filming that. Can he get in trouble for that?
Yes.
And who will be? Is it gonna be guards who gonna kind of say like, hey, you shouldn't be doing that? So what I'm aiming at, like, how realistic it is that someone get in trouble, and also, should we do something if you see something like that, right? Somebody does something that potentially is it. So is that you call airspace?
Well, if you see somebody flying a drone around a crowd, say, you can't just assume that they're not supposed to be doing it. They could have applied for permission, and they could be qualified and applied for permission.
Yeah.
So there's no point just running off to the guards and telling them. Maybe go up and talk to them about it and ask them. And the response you get will probably tell you, if they tell you to get lost, Whereas if they've actually applied for permission, they'll probably say who they work for or any of that.
So that's very interesting, because that's kind of gray area, right? It's not really, and again, a couple of years ago, I was on a technology conference where people were talking about various things, and among that was one session about drones, which I love, because there was one of the guys who were in the crew who were flying DJI drones I believe in Nepal during the earthquake, where they used drones for survey to find out where the people are trapped and so on.
Yeah.
And they were also part of the crew who've done those famous videos of volcanoes in Iceland, I believe, with DJI and drones, and they were showing drones that they get melted because they were so close to lava and so on. So that was interesting. And a part of that session was, he said, like, well, there's a fair amount of bad publicity around drones. And he was giving these examples. And he said, like, hey, look, this is my photo. I'm flying the drone, and he was giving examples of various articles in the newspapers when they all were using the same photo of this guy flying a drone. There was like hacker done this and that, and this guy, like completely different stories, but that was that bad.
Well, see, you only hear about the bad stories, don't you?
Yeah, you never hear good stories about drones.
It's very rare anyway. You do. It's always the bad ones that the newspapers like to run with. You know.
Yeah,
it's like drone flies over.
It's general.
Like you see there the other day about the Post delivering the post there to up the country.
Yeah,
it was over 5.5 kilometre round trip to make it across the island. So like, there's the good side to it as well.
Yeah.
They're much cheaper than helicopters and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there is a lot of positives, but as you say, everybody talks about the bad side.
Yeah. And can you do you guys feel that, or you run across this in your day-to-day job, because obviously that's your job about this.
Yeah, we would hear a lot of this, but we try and make positive things out of it. You know.
I have to say that most of the time, if I'm flying a drone, it's mostly positive when people come up and talk to you. They're just curious. They're like, oh, what is that, a drone? What kind of drone? And it's all the usual kind of questions: how high can it fly? How far can it fly?
Right.
And how long does it fly for?
Yeah.
But they're just interested in them. Like, it's not, they're not telling you to get out of there, or
Okay.
Yeah.
You were gonna say something.
No.
Yeah. So okay. So that's interesting. So you never had any negative
Not
comment.
really. No.
Okay. And this is probably also like part of what you're doing, is try to put a positive spin around that, right?
Yes.
I noticed like right now I mentioned all of this negative press, and the first thing you do is like, no, hang on a minute. There's a lot of positive as well. So I think it's important, right?
Yeah. It's very important moving forward to think positive about the drone industry. If you think negative, it'll be very hard to make progress. So
yeah.
So we try and keep it positive.
But do you think that inevitable thing is more regulations coming?
Well, we already know. I can tell you there already is more regulations coming.
Right.
It's coming from a European. So
okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. So the UK regulations are different from the Irish regulations. They have their own ones. They're pretty much the same, but there's slight differences. So there's the European EAS, I think they're called, and they're basically putting out regulations that we will all adopt. So it will change.
Okay, across the EU.
Yes,
that's what it is. And do you know the what's coming? What's
I can't say exactly. They've put out the bill already, but it's going to change slightly anyway. But it's basically going to mean, at the moment, if a drone weighs less than 1 kg, you don't need to register it. And there are slight regulations for a drone like that. And back when that was first put out, like the smallest, like a Phantom was probably the smallest drone. So that a Phantom is over 1 kg and it has to be registered. So anything below that was kind of considered a toy. Right. But now the technology has come so far, things are getting smaller and lighter, and they can fly longer and further. So now so many years on, there's smaller craft. There's craft that are half that weight that can fly further and longer. So the regulations are basically coming to kind of combat a little bit. Yeah. And so do you think that they overall are going to be more restrictive than they are at the moment in Ireland, or the opposite? No, I think in some ways yes, but in other ways they're going to be less restrictive in terms of the height that you can fly to. Well, the 120 meters is always going to be there because that's 400 feet. Yeah. And airplanes their lower limit for flying unless they're going to land is 500 feet. Right. So that's why that number is 400 feet. That gives you a cushion of 100 feet. So that's never going to change. Yes. But when you're just outside of an aerodrome, at the moment you're allowed to fly up to 15 meters, which is quite low, but it's still better than nothing because you are technically still within a controlled airspace. Yes. But I think they might be increasing that because it's been proven to be, success. Letting people fly up to that height. The more that goes, the more knowledge is about that, the more information they can. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. All right. And drones are getting a lot simpler to fly as well, so there'll be more people getting into it. So the regulation has to be suited to both, to both the commercial industry and the hobbyist industry, if you want to call it, or just the ordinary. And in fairness, like the companies that are making these drones are taking, before it was just they would just sell the drones and what people did with them was their own business. Yes. But now the companies that are making them are actually building in safety features to stop people from flying in airspaces they're not supposed to. Like there's some of them that just won't, if you're trying to fly in an airspace you shouldn't be, it just won't even take off you. Or it won't fly into an airspace that you shouldn't. Right.
And so tell us just maybe also about registration. So you said like effectively right now in Ireland you have to register every drone that you're buying. And what
No.
Okay, so there are that are
If
less
it, at the
than 1
moment,
kilogram.
the regulations now, if it weighs 1 kg or more, it needs to be registered.
Okay, so there are drones that are
Yes.
meeting that criteria. They're weighing less than 1 kg.
Yes,
right
yes,
now.
that's correct.
Okay,
And drones are getting lighter and lighter as well now, so
yeah. So it's going to be more and more.
so
of that.
there'll be more drones not registered because of that.
Yeah. And what consists of registration? Because you mentioned that the DJI Phantom which is
Yeah, so say if you bought a Phantom now
Yeah.
and you wanted to register it, you would go online to the IAA website and in general, and it talks you through it, like you basically follow you sign up and you give them your email and you put in the details of your craft. And,
Okay, so
there's a small fee, I think, is it €5? Or
€5,
something?
yeah.
Okay.
€5 per drone, isn't it?
Yeah, €5 per drone. Yeah.
And they'll eventually, it takes them a while, but they'll eventually send you a little sticker
right.
that you would put on your drone, and that is your same as you see on the
Registration
side of
number.
It's a registration sticker.
same as you see on the side of an airplane. It's a number,
Yeah.
and that's there basically to identify that that's your drone. So
Yeah.
if you were flying a drone and you lost it, they even have on the website somewhere if you find a drone,
Yeah.
you can go on the website and they can use that to track down the owner.
Yes.
You know.
Okay. And also hold you accountable if you're doing something stupid.
Yes,
with it.
definitely.
Okay. Do you guys think that this is taking away a little bit from the fun of well, I don't want to use the word sport of flying drone, but out of the activity, because there is part of me that says like as soon as you need to regulate, that you're regulating something, you're taking away fun of it. But I obviously fully appreciate that safety concerns, privacy concerns, and so on. But that piece aside, if something gets regulated, don't you feel like this is that golden era when we had the drones and everybody does whatever you want?
Yeah.
It's like fun. Now it's kind of over.
Well, I suppose there's different types of fun with drones. Like there's just use it for just a bit of fun, just flying around.
Mm-hmm.
There's racing drones. Then you can use it for photography.
Mm-hmm.
So there's many different types of.
A drone is not a drone. Like they're all a big variety, of drones out there, and there's more coming down the road as well. Different technologies coming into them. But no, I don't really think it's taking the fun out of it. Like I mean,
No.
it's really it's mainly to combat the people who just buy the drone, take it out the box, charge the battery, and then just send it up and out.
Right.
And they just push it as far as it will go, and they're not looking at the drone. They don't know where the drone is. It could be over the airport for all they know.
Yeah.
And another way you could think about it, that the new regulations aren't really going to stop somebody from doing that because it's still on them to go online and register the drone.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. But at least then they can be held accountable if they haven't done so, right?
Yeah.
Because right now.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you think that more of a authority comes to the guards to kind of make sure that these rules are being adhered to? Like
I don't think they have any training in the area at the moment anyway.
Yeah.
They if you ask a lot of guards, they wouldn't really know about regulations or the weight and stuff like that. Like
there's also an issue. There's always an issue with the new kind of stuff that comes
Yeah.
in. Like they need to catch up. The law needs to catch up. And all that.
Ireland is one of the, I suppose, slowest establishing drone industry in the world.
Oh, really?
We're definitely falling behind big time in the drone industry compared to the likes of America or Australia or any of them.
Mm-hmm.
They're way ahead of us.
Right.
In terms, they're ahead of us in a lot of things. But the drone industry, they're ahead of us big time.
Yeah. Okay, and obviously. So good. Listen. So what happens in case you crash the drone? Like there's a crash of it, right? Because that obviously happens. Is that how like, because I'm wondering, like, obviously are you insured, for example? That's the question. Is there an insurance issue coming in, like, if the drone like crashes into somebody's car or some person, like how does that?
The insurance is mostly public liability insurance, so it just covers the likes of people, cars, or anything you hit. But a lot of the time, if there's a crash, it's nearly always down to pilot error. Drones have gotten very reliable in the last few years. So it's down to the pilot really. But I would say nearly 90% of the crashes or more. So
you'd only have insurance though if you're going to be doing it for a business.
Yes.
So like your general person, hobbyist, isn't going to have insurance.
And you can't get insurance without a license. So
Yeah.
You have to have both or none.
Okay. Okay. So I have a concern now that when we're talking about now about drones, and listeners may listen to that, is like, oh my God, this is like, big mess. I have to, make sure I'm not flying in the wrong direction and like whatever. I need to register and so on and so on. But it's not really like, it's not that big of a deal,
No.
right? It's still kind of very accessible. I don't know, activity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like myself and Shane were talking earlier, it really comes down to common sense. Just common sense and flying responsibly. If you can just do the two of those things, the regulation, you're going to be flying within the regulations. Like, you're obviously not going to fly it out way too far. I think a lot of people think they're going to do that when they first get it, but like, you're talking about your investment, and you're going to send it 500 kilometer that way. You're not going to want to do that.
Yeah,
really.
yeah, exactly. Okay, guys. So if someone wants to buy a drone, gets into that flying drones, and they're like, where to start? What's the best way to start, other than on Munster drone services, right? Because you also selling drones.
Yeah.
We do.
So we're approved DJI retailers, so we sell drones online. All the DJI products are on our website,
right?
which can be purchased online, and we'll have them sent out directly in a day or two.
Right. And you're also providing also the service of the drone and all that. In case something like this is the question: does drone requires periodic servicing like a car?
They're very simple. There's the only moving part in them is the motors, and they're brushless motors, so they last pretty much forever. Wow. You're not going to wear them out. The only thing is maybe the battery. If you're doing a lot of flying, the batteries after say 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, like in a phone, like
exactly
any
same as
battery.
your phone if you're using it constantly.
Yeah.
But I get a lot of people asking me, they're looking to buy a drone, and I always ask them, well, what do you want it for? Do you want to fly it for fun, or do you want it to take nice photos? Do you want it for a business? And it basically goes from there, and basically what budget they have too. If they have a lot of money to spend, obviously go bigger if they want, if that suits their needs. But at the moment, the range that DJI have, they have a nice spread in terms of budget and what the drone can do.
Yeah.
So
okay, so guys, can you walk us and our listeners through from like the simplest, cheapest, and least challenging type of drone, or all the way like there through the classes or through the way how to use the drones? Can you just give us like a bit breakdown?
Will I take that one?
And can you simplify that question as well?
Yeah.
Well, so if you can say like at the very beginning you have a light small drones that are just used for takeoff and fly around, and then the next class is, for example, drones that you're using for photo, and then like whatever.
DJI's smallest drone is the Royce Tello. It's it works off your phone. It's a Wi-Fi connection. It's a small camera, 5 megapixel camera on it, no gimbals or anything. It's more of an indoor drone than an outdoor, just for a bit of fun. It's a kid's drone, effectively. That can do a few tricks and things like that.
Yeah, it's very safe to fly as well, because it has propeller guards, so it's not going to hurt.
Okay. And it's only €109, so it's quite cheap, and it's quite compact as well.
About the same price level as well. There's a lot of people. If you go into stores and stuff like Maplin or that kind of stuff, they'd have non-branded drones, or these cheaper drones, and the main issue with those is they you take them out the box and they fly away fine. They don't have any fail-safes built into them.
Right.
So what a fail-safe is something goes wrong. So like all the DJI stuff, they all have fail-safes built in. And what happens nearly all the time with those ones is that when the connection is lost between the drone and the controller, so if somebody flies too far away, it just continues on with the last command it got from the controller. Okay. So if it's flying away and it loses connection, it's going to keep going. So that's a flyaway, and that's very common with those ones.
Okay.
Whereas with the DJI ones, even the Tello as well will have a failsafe built in. Once it sees that the connection between the drone and the controller is lost, it will activate its failsafe.
And the Tello is just an automatic land.
Right.
Just land, because there's only 100 meter range in it, so it's more of an indoor drone, as I said, than an outdoor drone. And the next step up they have is the Spark.
Yes.
That's a 2-axis. There's a 2-axis gimbal on that.
Gimbal is like an attachment you can attach the camera or
the gimbal and camera is one unit on all these drones.
Okay.
So
it's not like you can attach the GoPro or something.
All the DJI drones have their own built cameras on them.
Okay.
So you can't attach any external cameras on them. But you can on the more expensive models.
Yeah.
The more commercialized models.
Mhm.
But on the standard, just the ordinary consumer models, you can't. No.
Yeah.
So there's the 2-axis gimbal. 2-axis gimbal basically keeps the camera level and steady on 2-axis. But at the bigger drones then have a 3-axis gimbal, so
Right.
it's stabilized in 3-axis, X, Y, and Z axis.
Okay.
So
that's Spark. So you can use that for taking photos and
Yeah, it's kind of a multi-purpose drone, like, because there's a couple of different ways you can control it. You can either use your phone, Wi-Fi connection. You can get the separate controller, and you're using your phone as a screen, but you have the 2 sticks to control it. And it also does it tracks your movements as well.
Yeah.
So if you're flying in front of you, the camera can see you, and you can give it hand gestures.
Oh,
and you can fly the drone around like that as well.
Okay.
So the technology is really coming a long way. Like
That's interesting. Yeah, because there's a picture recognition that goes in.
Yeah.
it's a really cool drone for travel or for family photographs or parties or anything like that. It's definitely the ideal drone for that.
Right.
And that they start at $499, depending on the package you want.
Okay. So, and what's next one? What's
the next one then is the Mavic Air.
Yeah, Mavic Air. Yeah,
Mavic.
That's only new onto the market, fairly new to the market.
Was like Mavic the company that DJI acquired, or is it brand?
No, that's just the name of the
okay,
drone.
it's just the name.
They started off with the Mavic Pro, which is the next level up from the Mavic Air, and then they released the Mavic Air, which is kind of a midway between the Spark and the Mavic Pro.
Okay. It seems like it's very. So, what are the differences between these drones? Because it seems like there's a lot of them.
It's really is like the price is going up, and you get longer.
The spec really.
Yeah, like the camera spec is better, the flight time is better, and all that kind of stuff.
So this is basically to fit the budget of
Yeah. Because not everyone has the money to buy, say, something like a Phantom.
Right.
Like DJI have nearly six models of drones, from the Tello to the Phantom.
Right.
So there's something to suit everybody's needs.
Okay.
So
then the next one is Phantom, right? And or is it
the Mavic Pro will be the next one.
Yeah, the Mavic Pro. Yeah.
So so this is just again the step up. There's nothing revolutionary. It's a bigger, faster.
Yeah, there's more things built in, like the collision avoidance and all that. Like, well, the smaller the Sparks and the Mavic Air have that built in them now as well. Like, but they all have more features and better. It's really coming down to the camera megapixels. Like the newest DJI one, the Phantom,
there's 20 megapixels.
20 megapixels.
And there's a full frame sensor on as well, so it's quite big. Like,
you're talking like when you get to the Phantom level, you're talking about professional photography type of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay, because I felt like somehow I thought that the Phantom is kind of like a default drone that everybody will go. But
it was at the start when initially.
It was really DJI with the Phantom that really started the drone revolution. They made it so easy to use and cheap, whereas before that you had to go off and buy the kits and know what to do and know how to solder and program the drone.
Oh,
so it was really with the
more of a DIY kind of thing.
Yes. When the Phantom came out, it was literally push the battery in, press go, and you could fly.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. And listen, so there's a lot of obviously photography is a main thing, but what are the other use for drones?
Drone racing is becoming a big thing.
Oh really?
Yeah, drone racing is
different kind of drone now, not the Phantoms and that.
Oh,
they would be fascinating.
That's very interesting. Please lay it out for us, because that's very interesting. It's like a very sporty drones. Like, please tell us about it.
Well, I suppose like when I started with the drones, I started as a hobbyist, and I started with actually model airplanes, and I got into the kit-built drones, and then went from there. And I have racing drones, but I don't race them. I just fly them around. It's called freestyle, so I just fly them around in between trees and stuff. Yeah, so it's a bit of fun, like. And
okay, and what are the characteristics of the racing drones? Okay, lighter, doesn't have a camera, or like?
So it actually they're made to take a crash, which is not you couldn't say that of the DJI ones.
Okay.
So they're a lot simpler. So they don't have any GPS. They don't have barometer or any of the smart functions like that.
Okay.
And it's a lot more manual. So with the DJI ones, the computer on board is doing a lot of the flying.
Yes.
Whereas the racing drones, it's more pure and simple. It's
It's more raw.
yeah,
Raw.
yeah,
Like a race car.
like a go-kart,
Yeah,
that kind of thing. It's
okay.
it's
You don't
all-
have a traction control. You don't
Exactly.
have ABS. You don't have all the
Yeah.
fancy stuff. You have a steering wheel. It's like this and that.
It's all about the skill. And
Right.
also,
That makes sense.
you fly them in a very different way. So with the normal drones, you're flying them by looking at the drone,
Mhm.
and you have a screen in front of you of what the camera is seeing.
Yes.
And again, that part of the regulations in Ireland is that you have to keep line of sight of the drone.
Mhm.
If it's under 1 kg, that doesn't apply.
Okay.
So that's where the racing drones come in as well. They're always less than 1 kg. They're about half that weight.
Right.
And you fly the racing drones with a set of goggles.
Oh, okay.
So you're seeing what the camera sees. So it's like first person view. of the drone.
Okay, in the racing drone.
Yes.
I thought that it doesn't have a camera, but they do have a camera.
They do,
but
yeah,
not for the purpose of making
Yes,
photos, but
the-
for the purpose of
Flying. See where you're going.
So the cameras on them are actually very low quality,
yes.
because if you have a high quality camera in it, it introduces latency.
Yes.
So when you're
Yes.
flying in between trees,
you would crash between
Yeah.
that before you know
even
how-
half a second is too much, because that
Oh, absolutely.
half a second to avoid a tree. By the time you react, the drone's already gone into
Yeah,
the tree.
yeah. I watch the videos on the YouTube video, in the virtual reality, exactly even like a half a second, even half of that, a quarter of a second. What difference does it make when somebody was trying to pick up an object or something that is moving? It was just hilarious because they were completely missing everything, and you think
Yeah.
like a quarter of a second or whatever, like it's nothing. It's
Yeah.
just like ages if you're interacting with that. So that
Mm.
so that's a good way. So racing drones. that's-
Drone racing is only getting established in Ireland, really.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there's a few clubs around. Like there's two big ones. There's one in Cork, which is a fairly good size, and there's another one up in Dublin.
Right.
And there's a lot of guys all over Ireland who do it right.
Right. I want to come back for a second of something you mentioned, that the regulation says that you need to keep a drone in your line of sight.
Yes.
So does it effectively prevent you from doing any exploratory flying where you go? Like, I'm still coming back to this videos when they were photographing volcanoes or stuff like that. And granted, there's no people around, right? So probably that's different. But just theoretically speaking, that regulation prevents you from flying your drone where you can't see it.
Yes. You again, like, you need to see where your drone is.
Right.
The more restrictive one would be that you can't fly your drone if you're not qualified. You can't fly your drone further than 300 meters from where you are.
Right.
So think of that as a 300 meter radius around distance horizontally.
Which is quite a bit like when
Yeah.
you're flying.
Yeah.
It's
Now-
quite a distance, straight line.
Yeah.
Right.
I can't really
Right.
see many places where you would be able to get close enough to something to fly a drone 300 meters
Right.
to see something like that.
Okay. And if someone wants to do the license or whatever you call it, like what's
The specific operating permission.
specific
Yeah.
operating?
So again, like if you did have a reason to fly, you needed to go a kilometer away from yourself to explore, like you were saying.
Yes.
You could do that if you were qualified and you applied for permission.
Okay, so how to go about getting qualifications
Yeah.
and exam and doing, like, I presume there is an exam or something.
Yeah,
like that.
there is.
Okay.
When I take this one.
Yeah, you have to get a license first of all.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be licensed by the Irish Aviation Authority. So you have to be.
So that's a five quid registration process, really. That's the license that you're talking about.
No.
No, that's
You
the
have to
drone
do-
registration.
Oh, that's the drone registration. Okay.
Yeah, so you have to do 2-3 day course on drone. So it
Okay.
basically takes you through everything about the drones, about weather, about how to maintain your drone, how to
Mm-hmm.
So they call it ground school. So it's all the theory that you need to know to go on.
Okay.
and then you have to do a test. And then when you pass the test, you have to. They give you a license then.
It's just a practical flying test.
Just
Not
practical
very-
flying test.
Okay, so is it like
It's
theory
very,
and practical?
It's very
test?
simple to driving test. You do your theory test,
Mhm.
and then you do your test, you get a license.
Okay, so this is exactly it.
Very
So you
simple.
do a theory, you pass theory, then you're flying a drone, and where you can apply for that course? Where's the where you?
Well, there's only a few schools around Ireland that are actually.
Okay.
Do you mind pausing just a minute? We're actually working on.
Okay, so this is what I'm going to
I-
say.
I-
That's
I-
actually
I don't want to mention it at the moment, so.
yeah.
Yeah.
Why not? Let's mention that, because if you guys gonna provide those services pretty soon, right?
Yeah, we're planning we're working on it at the minute, trying to get it going. So
Right.
Yeah, there's a bit of work in the setup to become a registered training facility with the IAA.
Of course.
There's only a handful around the country that are doing it, and there's none in this part of the country.
Yeah.
So there's definitely
So
there's a lot of
there's going to be one, right?
Yes,
Pretty
yeah.
soon.
So there's a lot of people looking, like coming to the guys looking for when they're buying drones or looking to get qualified as well. So
Right.
it's definitely
Right.
there.
there's a lot of photographers and stuff like that are starting using those as well. So
Okay.
it is very broad. The drone industry is so broad. Like farmers use them, the civil defence use them,
Yes.
councils use them,
Yes.
the hobbyists use them. Everybody, it's going to be something that everybody will have in 10
Yeah.
years' time.
And are there like different levels of that license, that you have like a basic one and then
There can be, yeah. I mean, if you've a need to fly heavier drones, yeah, it's the same test, but it's just
Okay, so there's
test.
not like categories like in the driving license, the A, B, and so on.
Actually, sorry, no, you're right. There are actually different categories. There's the multi-rotor category, which is the standard drone that you would know about.
Yes.
With the 4 rotors
Yes.
or more, 6. There's also the fixed wing, which is an airplane type model.
Oh, you're right.
So that is a different category.
This is something that always catches me, like, because these how they call it, pilotless plane or not manned planes. They're counted as a drone. There's also a drone.
When you say the word drone, people always think of the same thing with the 4 propellers.
Yeah.
But a drone can be many different shapes or sizes.
So that's just unmanned aircraft. Is that the definition of drone?
They keep changing the name of what drone is. Drone, or it's SUA, which is small unmanned aircraft, or what was the ORPAS was one from years ago, which is remotely piloted autonomous system.
Yeah.
But when you say that to people, like, oh, I have a SUA or this, you just say drone, and everyone knows what a drone is.
Okay.
Yeah. And the Leaving Cert this year, the special topic was on drones, and they were coming across questions in Leaving Cert that were explaining about drones in the presentations. They didn't know what RPAS meant or what drone meant, because they gave it in so many different versions.
Yeah.
But they didn't realise it all meant one thing.
Yes.
It's at the end of the day, it's an unpiloted aircraft, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah.
So that's the way it's gone.
That's very.
There's different countries naming different things, and that's how we ended up calling all sorts of things.
Yes. But then now, when you talk with somebody about the drones and they're gonna use those names, you know that you're talking with someone who actually knows their stuff. It's like, oh, I know. This is not first for you. Okay, guys. So what else the drones can be used for other than photography?
A lot of our stuff that we do are photography and videography, and a bit of mapping, a lot of mapping as well.
Okay.
So there's many types of photography. So we do a lot of stuff for auctioneers. So any auctioneer that's selling land or any property, or any coastal property that will look well on a good day or anything like that. That's the kind of thing we use it for. Inspections as well. For checking out high buildings or chimneys or things like that. So and a lot of the film now and a lot of the promotional videos that we do now they're all aerial photography or aerial videography, I should say.
Right.
It's getting broader and broader every day. There's new sectors coming every day.
So obviously that's a like everything drone related you guys are doing. You're gonna be doing training pretty soon, and you can sell somebody a drone, and you can also do the photography and do the videos for people, whatever they do.
And we do work for farmers as well. So we basically map land. So any farmer that might be cutting silage, he might know the exact acreage that he is cutting. The field might be 14 acres. Yeah. But they could be only 12 acres of land there when the ditches are taken out. Yeah. So we quantify exactly what they have for fertilizer, or for cutting silage, or for feeding cattle, to predict what they need, and so it's all about being efficient.
Right. The mapping is a very interesting side of it, right? Yeah. Because what you're doing is you're using a different bit of software on the drone to actually map the area. So you're giving it an area, and it will automatically work out a route to fly over the area autonomously. So once you have it planned out and you set your heights and all that, you just press go, and it will automatically fly that route, and it'll take pictures as it's going along, looking straight down. and all those pictures. Once the drone lands back again, all those pictures are on the SD card,
Right.
and all the pictures are geotagged, so it knows the exact
location
of each photo, and you can take those pictures and plug it into a bit of software, and it can stitch them all into one big photo.
You can even do that in Google Earth.
That's pretty much what it is.
That's how you do custom maps and GPS, right? You do the photo overlay and you kind of adjust into the
well, you don't need to adjust it. It's pretty much
in that case it just does it.
Even from that you can even get 3D images. Say if you do a map of an area of a building or a castle or something like that, if you take enough pictures, it'll give you a perfect 3D.
And you can measure anything. You can measure 3D. You can measure three-dimensionally, like you can measure height, length, width,
volume and everything.
Yeah.
That's very.
And another thing about farming as well, it can tell you how well the crop is going, where you need to put fertilizer, what type of fertilizer you need to put out, how much you need to put out, and you can go back out and scan the field again in 2 weeks' time and see how your field is progressing on.
Right.
So it tells you exactly, and all that can be linked up to fertilizer spreaders. So it'll put out more fertilizer where it's required.
Okay.
And it'll put out less.
It ends up saving the farmer money.
Well, absolutely, absolutely. So, and you said this is like an autonomous action of
autonomous. It's all automatic. Like.
Is that segment getting bigger? Like an autonomous. Because usually, we spend quite substantial time on this podcast talking about all the skills that you need and all the regulation and everything else. But now we're saying like, well, actually there are autonomous drones that you say like, well, this is what I want, and you just program it.
Yeah.
Well, there's only so much you can do with autonomous.
At the moment with the regulations, but it's definitely going to be the future of drones. When you talk about this, delivery by drone and all that. Yeah. In the future, when that does happen, as we saw with Unpost, that was an autonomous flight that they did to drop it out there.
Right.
So in the future, when we do start getting things delivered by drone, it'll be done autonomously.
Yeah. Do you remember any more details about this Unpost delivery on drone?
No, the part I read was I look it up there.
All right, that's just interesting how to
it's just based on what I know is they were just trialing it, like a lot of these
they actually did it with a Phantom.
Right.
Did they, or the picture I saw showed a fairly big, fairly large drone? I think the photo.
It was actually delivered to Clare Island, County Mayo.
Oh.
It was.
So that was the post I saw first, but then I saw another one where it was a very large custom built drone.
Oh, custom built drone.
Yeah.
Because I looked at your website, and you have also this like an industrial drones, which are really big, heavy drones, right? I noticed when I was browsing through the website. So
just to let you know, the flight was it was 5.5 kilometers return.
Wow.
So, it would have been 2.5 out and 2.5 back.
That was quite a distance, like.
Yeah.
And again, they would have had to get permission for that, to show it. But it's over water, so it's fairly safe.
Yeah. Well, that's fascinating. So you actually mapping, but the whole issue of scouting, right? I for example know that in the US, for hunters, it's specifically prohibited to use drones. So if they're hunting over the area, they have to actually on foot go and find the animal where to go.
Yeah, but that I was talking to a guy and he said that's pretty much cheating the game. That's making the game.
Exactly.
It's making the game too easy.
If they're doing it for sport, they're taking all the sport out of it by doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
I've heard the same with fishing that I've seen before where people have used a drone with the camera facing down and then they've attached the line.
Oh, really? But it's actually for fishing rather than
well, they fly it out over a big bunch of fish, look down, and they've some way of wriggling the streak because there's no way to manually drop from a Phantom.
Yeah.
And then they just drop it in there and reel it in back from the land.
Oh my word!
That's too easy.
That's too easy. Yeah, but that's why the regulation comes in, right? Because the issue of a population control and conservation goes in. So not necessarily it's assumed that, for example, in the United States, like when they're issuing a tag for a deer or whatever, the number of these tags is based on the assumption that only 10% will be successful, right? So now the chances gets flipped. So that's why they're doing that. That's fine. So guys, tell me about I think there's another big area where the drones are used, and this is for basically taking selfies, for the lack of a better word, right? And I kind of understand that, because I had a lot of conversation with my friends who were buying cameras, right? And in my time, I was doing videos and like fishing videos and whatever. And then a lot of my friends like, oh, I'm gonna buy a camera, I'm gonna be doing those videos as well, right? And it's like, well, look, what I noticed, the problem was that everybody wants to be in a video, right? And they're buying a camera and they go out with the camera and then they realize that, well, actually, how am I going to do this, right?
Yeah.
So you end up with all those videos with a GoPro strapped onto the chest or onto the head, and their camera is pointing that direction, they're doing something else and so on. And then, ta-da, the drones comes in and they have this, I think that was Mavic, probably, at least that sticks in my head, that where you can actually have these modes where you can track you and do the fly around.
Yeah, a lot of them have these days, and even the older ones as well. They have they're intelligent flight modes is what they call them.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have like Orbit Me or Follow Me,
Exactly,
or these kind of things.
So then you can ski, or you can cycle on your bicycle and whatever, and the drone is following you. And is it still like you need to wear a pod that the drone is following, or is it more?
It depends on the
based
brand,
on the image recognition.
It depends on the drone. The older ones would have been following the controller, whereas the new ones, like say the Mavic Air, actually has image recognition. So once you have yourself in frame, say, you can tap on the screen where you are, and it knows to follow that.
And how does it work? Because I watched the. One of the fairly early ones, and that image recognition, that was losing track of the object.
Usually it goes off.
In reality, how does it work?
It actually works off the color.
Oh.
So if you have a red jumper on, it automatically follows that red jumper everywhere.
Okay.
So that's basically how the active track.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Track.
Okay, so as long as there is not many people who are wearing red jumpers, and if you're on a kind of try to dress in the color that is not prevalent in the area, that
you're wearing a green jumper and you're standing in a field.
It's not going to work. Okay, so this is like a distinctive category of the drones, or is it like kind of one of the features?
These days, it's just one of the features that they pretty much all have built in.
Right. Okay.
There's loads of more features as well. Like there's probably I think 8 or 10 features.
Right.
Like the Spark now has selfie mode in it, where you can give a hand gesture and it will take a picture of you, or you wave to the drone, I think.
You just wave at the drone and it'll take a picture of you.
Yeah. And tell me, guys, so is there would you agree that the biggest limitation at the moment for drones is the battery and the battery life, which is
the battery life has got substantially longer since they came out first. I remember the first Phantom, it was only lasting 10 minutes.
Really?
Yeah. And now it's lasting 25 minutes, depending on the wind.
I think the longest flight time at the moment would be about 30 minutes. Is it?
Yeah, 30 minutes.
That's pretty much good for consumer grade. If you're going to go buy the larger ones, you can get more.
So we get into the larger ones because this was interesting. But is it a matter of weight? So can you connect like a 2 or 3 batteries, or have it like a custom built battery that lasts longer?
It's basically weight to ratio. Weight.
Yeah.
If you have too much weight.
The more weight you add to the drone, the more power it needs to keep it in
the
the air.
So you're actually not gaining anything by adding bigger battery
because it's down to the development of battery. So it's batteries are developing in a serious way.
Yeah, so it's the chemistry of the battery. The same with the electric cars. Like it's holding it once it gets cracked. But a lot of people, like when people come up and ask about drones, so how high does it fly, how far, how long does it fly, and you tell them about 20 minutes, and they're like, oh, that's not very long.
Yeah,
but you can actually 20 minutes is actually a lot of time.
Yeah, people don't realize. It's like with this half a second delay. People really don't realize how like 20 minutes. Like go and fly the drone for 20 minutes. Good luck with that, right?
Yeah, like even like I've flown drones that can fly for 40 minutes.
Yes.
But like 40 minutes of concentrating flying a drone. 30 minutes is perfect amount. 30 minutes, you bring it back, change the battery, which takes 2 seconds.
Yes.
Take off again.
And you can
even that bit of a break is enough rather than just being concentrating the whole time.
I think that 20 minutes is enough to fly it anywhere, photograph whatever you want.
Especially given the distance that you can fly out to. You don't need, obviously for that autonomous flight that Unpost did, they needed probably longer flight time or needed more battery as backup.
Yeah. So now you mentioned like a bigger drones, like industrial drones. Like tell us a few words about that. Like they have they're almost like a small aircraft or what's.
The next one up is kind of the Inspire, which is it's a professional drone for that a lot of the filmmakers use.
Is it above?
It's 3 kg in weight, so it's not that much bigger. It's about that square.
Okay, so that's bigger than Phantom.
Yes, and the main advantage of that is because it can take a bigger camera and it has full 360 view with the camera. So, and usually when people are flying them, they have a separate second person which operates the camera.
Right.
So the person flying it can just concentrate on flying the drone, and the person using the camera can get the shot that they need to get.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
So the Phantom, the consumer level, you can't do that.
Yes. So in these bigger ones, they have like also more rotors, I think.
Not that one, but
no.
yeah, you can get bigger ones. Like the next step up from that now would be the Matrice 600. And this is all talking DJI brand, but
yes.
there are other ones out there. You can build your own ones, but the Matrice 600 has 6 motors. Right. So again, that helps lifting heavier weight.
Yeah, the bigger drones, there's just more payload. That's basic.
Yeah.
And your license, you need different licenses for the heavier for them.
So speaking about the payload and the example that you gave of Unpause, so is the sector of drone actually carrying stuff kind of developing right now? Because to that point we said like, okay, there's a drone and all the drone carries is the camera, so you can take photos and so on, right?
Yeah.
And some people were trying to hook a fish and whatever. But is that like a genuinely segment of the industry of the drones that they're carrying stuff, and are we talking about the drones with wings in that segment, or how does that work?
Definitely, I'd say definitely in years to come, that's how a lot of that has been delivered locally. I won't say over long distances, but definitely locally. Like there's drones out there that are VTOL, so they vertical takeoff and landing. Yeah. So they take off like a normal Phantom up into the air, and once they get up there, they fly like a plane. So they're a lot more energy efficient.
Really?
So unless things move down the road like that, that's the only way really you can transport over long distances.
Sure.
But definitely over short distances, they will be used big time down the road.
And up until recently, if you wanted to drop something from a drone, which again in the regulations you need to have permission to do that. But if you wanted to drop something, you needed to rig up a mechanism yourself. But these days now you can actually buy, for DJI or for certain brands, you can buy a mechanism or a device that you attach, and that can give you that ability.
Okay. That reminds me of the video again. The video I saw, it was called Killer Drone, where the guys they mount like a chainsaw to the drone.
Yes, I've seen that one. Yeah,
seen that one. They were using to kind of cut the icicles or something like that.
The trees.
But they also kind of put like a snowman with a big. I think pumpkin or something instead of head. They float this drone with a chainsaw straight into it. It's like, oh. So speaking about that, do you guys think that the drones are really for flying it for aircrafts and airspace industry what autonomous cars might be for car industry? In other words, for application like a cargo planes that are flying cargo, or the whole host of military use, that over time they really gonna replace the piloted aircraft.
Yeah. Well, I think that they already have in some places. Like, I mean, years ago, if the ESB needed to inspect these high power voltage lines, they needed to send up a helicopter with a pilot and another person hanging out the door or with a pair of binoculars looking at it. Now they can just use a drone, and like that's 1 or 2 people. It's way safer. It's way cheaper. Yeah. So that's
and you're not replacing jobs either. Like you still have 2 people doing the job,
and they can get much more done as well. The same
a lot quicker. Yeah.
Well, but obviously that's up for discussion. So again, the safety element, right? To what you mentioned, like even those drones with the military application, you're sending a effectively machine to the enemy territory, so you're not risking life of pilots and so on and so on. But do you think that there's gonna be some sort of a pushback because of a actually loss of jobs? And I know that you just said that it's gonna be no loss of jobs, but if you think about it, a cargo plane
Well, like
it's like a 6 crew members, right?
They'll still have to have people to run these drones. They're not going to just fly autonomously.
Yeah.
They still have to have people to actually manage them.
Jobs will be there, just in different places.
Yeah.
You know, like on Post now with their delivery drone.
Yeah.
You know, that in the future, if that replaces all the postmen out there, there's still going to have to be, you know, people to maintain the drones and people to physically load the cargo into the drone, because that's not going to be automated.
A robot's good.
It just makes life a bit easier. Basically.
I still feel that everywhere the life makes easier, there's gonna be some cut in the jobs. But that's interesting. You know, what's interesting is that conversation actually took us like from drones right into like you actually can automate an aircraft and, you know, fly autonomously. And if you think about, you know, like a cargo aircraft, which like it just becomes a drone, in fact. And that we go to this definition that you mentioned, like is this and that and whatever, right? That's right into that category, right? So you can imagine that within in you know number of years, UPS or DHL, they're not going to be running a fleet of their airliners. They're going to be
the technology is already there to automate an aircraft to automatically take off and land.
Absolutely, that's actually what all the Airbuses and all that, right?
It's completely possible, but why isn't it like that? Because it's down to trust. You know, are you going to get on a plane that there's nobody behind the controls?
Yeah,
you're going to trust the connection back to.
That's an excellent point, and that's probably material for yet another podcast, because this is essentially an issue with the autonomous cars. Where we kind of get used to the fact that we have an aircraft that lands and starts on its own, but you still get a pilot, you know, effectively in a cockpit. And now with the autonomous cars, there's kind of the same conversation. Like, well, would you trust the car that there's no driver?
It's mainly the development of the AI that's running the software to, you know, because it doesn't have the same sense as a human does behind the controls.
Or the reaction either wouldn't be as quick, I wouldn't think. A reaction to an incident wouldn't be as quick if it was autonomous rather than human. Where the human can do something about it right there and right then. But if it was through programs, it could take a bit of time to. So
I think at the moment the AIs are kind of struggling with complicated situations. You know, they can handle like a person coming out from one side or a car crossing, but if there's a couple of things going on, it starts to confuse them.
And contrary to many, you know, because if you dive into the AI. Kind of subjects, you know, not long ago people were saying like, "Wow, AI gonna replace humans and they gonna learn stuff, you know, in 20 hours what took 100 years for humans." Like, but right now I read recently a blog called AI Winter that actually that progress in AI kind of hit the wall a little bit. And to your point, like is like, well, certain complex problems, AI is really not that good, so it can be trained very well to, you know, translate from Japanese to English. But then it can be like a universal, you know, translate for like so it's like very narrow, very.
It's the getting them to think for themselves rather than being instructed in everything.
Well, exactly. But still, I get it that in a drone industry, the AI is a big thing for providing all the aid for pilots and you know, like a track back and all these things when the drone lost the connection and go back for the path. That's all based on AI, right?
Not really. Like, it's very basic software. Like when you take off, the drone remembers where it took off from in terms of its GPS position and height, which it gets from barometer. And once you go up and out, it loses connection and it just defaults back to go back home. You know, it's fairly simple.
I was actually surprised that you mentioned that there are drones who don't have that mechanism, that they just fly away.
The cheaper ones.
That's a surprise. You would imagine that this is kind of like a basic function that you have in a drone. All right, guys. Listen, it was extremely interesting, and that conversation took us into the various subjects that I would never thought is gonna take us. Can you guys one more time tell us everything about your company, Munster Drone Services, what you do, where people can find you, how can people find you, and what you can do for them?
Yeah, so basically Munster Drones provides drone services of everything from aerial photography to videography to promotional videos to mapping.
Wedding videos, I presume.
Everything.
Right.
Even if you just want a picture of your house, you want a nice aerial picture of your house.
And we do a construction progression report, so if there's a site to be monitored every month, we go back to the site every month or every 2 weeks or whenever it's required.
Wow.
We do a host of other stuff. It's endless, really, what drones can do, really.
Yeah.
We provide drones, as I said, we're DJI approved retailers.
Mm-hmm.
So we sell all the DJI products, everything, not just drones, we sell all other DJI products like the Osmo,
Mm-hmm.
the Rian, the goggles, anything like that, you know,
Right.
any other
Right.
accessories.
So these are these things that you put on your phone and it kind of gyro stabilizes it.
Yeah,
and
that's
so
the
on.
that's the gimbal.
That's a gimbal, yeah.
Yeah, that's on every drone.
Yeah.
We provide training as well. As I said, we're getting going on that soon.
Mm-hmm.
So you can find us at www.munsterdroneservices.com.
Mm-hmm.
You can check us out on Facebook or Twitter, Munster Drone Services. We're also on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can give us a call on 087 604 1469 if you have any questions or anything. You can also email us at info@munsterdroneservices.com if you have any questions or any queries in relation to anything. We'd be more than happy to help out.
Fantastic. Guys, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks a million.
Thanks very much.
And that concludes another episode of Tommy's Outdoors podcast. Thank you for listening. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. We are available on iTunes, now known as Apple Podcasts, also on Stitcher, TuneIn, PodBean, and SoundCloud, and any other podcasting platform you can think of. Also, follow us on Twitter at Outdoors Podcast, and follow us on Instagram at Tommy's Outdoors, and like us on this Facebook at Tommy's Outdoors. That's it for today. Until the next time. Bye bye.